Hello and welcome to the Race to a Trillion video series. In this video, we're going to be covering Book 7, Does Capitalism Make Sense? Um, this is a perfect segue from the last book and the first individual. And I think current generations and people of this era and the millennials and everything else, they don't necessarily or maybe are not aware of just how much of a conflict capitalism versus socialism and the Cold War, and a theoretical debate that was, and it's almost now, for me at least, I particularly didn't enjoy the Cold War or debating capitalism versus communism, but it's interesting to me now in that I I feel like the word capitalism and the word communism are both so uh, tracked over that they are not clear at all, and that so it's like a word it's almost like a word that is associated with too much literature. In other words, capitalism and communism have literally volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes of books and debate and theorizing and et cetera, et cetera. And what system is true and what system is not true and what system is born in the human spirit. And the truth is, and maybe I'm simplifying this matter much too much, and some people are still very, very adamant about these debates and what is right and what is wrong. But to me, to simplify the whole thing is that the countries that claim to be socialist are now capitalist, and the countries that claim to be completely capitalist are partially socialist. And so we've kind of had a melding of systems, that they both are now have components that of each other. And so, systems are systems, and um, they evolve and change over time. They're not completely rigid. And so anything that is construed or made by human beings and then is part of their behavior and everyday lives, which is our governments, they're of course going to be subject to change. And I think, uh, uh, as I mentioned in the prior video series, is that a lot of people would say that a trillionaire is something that should never ever occur. And if they do occur, there should be some stated law that they have to give it away, And I think that many people, especially out of the 60s, would say things like that. And I think we've been incredibly fortunate to have these rich people that we have had, and that they have been charitable and they have given a lot of it away. But at the same time, they absolutely drove and strived to get to that level of wealth. And I personally believe that is not a bad thing, and that the human endeavor and that the human competition is not a bad thing. I think when you have that much power, when you have that much wealth, of course you could drive other people out or subdue large portions of the economy or competitors, etc. And I don't think that's been the case, in that if there are monopolies or dominance has occurred, it's purely because of absolute um, best performance. In other words, the iPhone took Apple over $1 trillion because it was a gosh darn marvel and the greatest thing that has ever been in a human hand, right? It's not because they made the Android phone not as good by some secret method. They just produced the best product. And I think that's, consistent with Microsoft, and it's certainly consistent with Amazon. And, their dominance has just been outright unbelievable performance. As we mentioned before, they made logistics and shipping a standard that never even was even contemplated as something to reach for. 2-day and 1-day shipping. I don't think anybody ever in their wildest dreams would have imagined that could be accomplished. I think it would always have been 4 or 5 days, 6 day, 7 day, but never 1 and 2 day. And so there's distribution centers and trucks that run nonstop, and it was achievable. Who would have known? And then I think that where this all comes from is that in the US we have a capitalistic system that allows these people to strive so hard and build so much. And so I think capitalism absolutely does make sense. It's a consumer world, it's a materialistic world, and that, we are gatherers, we buy items and things, and that dominates our economy. And I think overall that's a great thing. And I think the thing that we'll talk about more in future video uh, presentations is that corporate wealth and the ability to buy into these companies that are driving um, overall human life. I mean, they're driving the human condition. They are investable. You can buy into them. And I think that is very much a communist or socialist kind of principle that I don't think was ever completely planned out. And so while that debate in the 1920s was raging, I don't think anyone stopped to consider that in modern times, people would be, or people would have the choice to buy into corporate structures that would make them wealthy, and that those choices and which investments to make, and simply having a 401k and a certain amount of stock in Microsoft or whatever was going to make you extremely wealthy. And so, I think that's something that maybe Karl Marx didn't fully know could occur or would occur, simply because it just didn't exist then. And so I think that there's no one that disagrees with equality, equality of rights and everything like that, which are very socialistic principles, um, are absolute. There's no denying that people need to be treated, or at least be subjected to the same overall rights. The laws can't be different for the lords, and the peasants get a different law. No, everybody gets the same law. But when it comes to the economy and money and finances, I think competition is the right place for that. And it has driven an unbelievable amount of ingenuity and invention and technology, and that has shaped the human condition. And we'll see if it, I think we're up upon the cusp of what was always envisioned as something uh, that may be bad or negative, which is AI. And so, our capitalistic system is now creating artificial intelligence, and we've had plenty of forewarnings with movie plots, etc. And we will once again see if we can manage to keep it in line and keep it not evil. And so I think capitalism has been wonderfully determined good thing and something that drives the system, and that trillionaires are a good thing, and that they bring about more for everyone. And hopefully AI will be the same way, and that will say, well, luckily, artificial intelligence was not a bad thing, and it has made everything better. And I think while capitalism is a purely theoretical and human kind of thought, I think that it has worked. But at the same time, I want to take a step back and say that the words capitalism and the words socialism are so traunched over. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but so mangled and so stomped into the ground that with so much debate and so much vigor that they don't even really represent the core principles of what they are anymore. And so I'm certainly not the person to expound on those two concepts, but I think people of later generations, and I just got to touch on it in my generation, but later generations just have no concept of how much people debated those things, and how the 60s generation was very much kind of an echo of the Soviet revolution that occurred in Europe, and that it was once again very much of a feeling that things should be equal upon everyone, even in finance. And luckily, all those 60s folks got into the 80s and became yuppies, and we didn't go that way. But I think that the 90s and Bill Gates and Microsoft and then Apple and then Google and Amazon has shown us that the world is going to um, um, rapidly evolve as far as technology, and um, it can be driven by financial goals. And so I think it's systems upon systems, and I think overall you have to say that our capitalistic system in the United States has worked well. And I think that the truest testament to that is that we're now seeing China pretty much take up our system, I think, and become more financially free. And their economy is maybe not doing the greatest on this very day, but their economy is great, and they're through our process of making trillion-dollar companies, they have become first class in every way, and that their cities and everything are amazing, and they have an incredible high level of living, and that's what the U.S. has enjoyed for since the 60s and 70s. That things are fairly nice here, and that's another thing that people don't really fully contemplate, is that our systems or our beliefs and our ability to compete, etc., is what ultimately drives our um, life quality. And so these companies that are worth trillions of dollars make our lives better. And so I think overall the system does work. And while there's not as much or as many people that still believe that we should all be financially equal, they still do exist. And I think the general thing to say is that you're stifling more than you're helping, because if an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos was stuck in a society where they could not drive and become as great as they were or are, then as great as they are, it would not benefit anyone, and it would just be more stifling. You would have a genius that couldn't get out of a situation versus a genius that's driving well-being for so many people in the country. And so I think it's something to pontificate upon, but I think in general our system is doing really well. And who knows, maybe artificial intelligence will make our system even better. Okay, that'll do it for book number 7. We'll see you on book number 8. Thank you.